welcome to our podcast, Master AI Disruption. Um, Let me introduce Davin Char very briefly. His company is called Equity Insurance. The website is equityinsurance.services, and he's been in the business of insurance out of Hawaii, Oahu Island. It's a family business, and he's been there for almost 10 years now, 8 years, I believe, to be exact, doing actually things that are unusual to what I've seen. And he'll discuss his approach for one, and his in terms of commercial relationships, but also in terms of the offer that he has, kinds of unusual. So and he's very successful in his fast growth in his business. So I'm very happy to have him here with us today as our guest on the MAD podcast. Welcome, Davin Char.
Oh, thank you so much, Francis. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. And thank you for that intro. And it means a lot to be on here with you.
Wonderful. Would you like to share with us maybe a little bit about your origin story? So what I heard is that your firm has been around for 50 years, right? Um,
hmm
and what was the core philosophy that your grandfather instilled and that still guides you up to this day for the agency? And what was the defining moment for me, what I would like to understand in your origin story, what was the defining moment that brought you back to that business where you offered to start there at age of 18, but then you went for photography. And then I think about 8 years later, 9 years later, you decided to join the business. So tell us how that all happened.
Yeah. So, my grandfather, he was one of those guys that he make a friend anywhere you go, right? So we go to the restaurant, he's talking with the host, the waiter. By the time we're leaving, we're trying to drag him out of the restaurant. When I was a little kid, they would send me back in and say, "Grandpa, pull on his pants. Okay, we gotta go." He was the driver, so we really couldn't go anywhere without him because we all jumped in his car, right? So, but what that really taught me was that, invest in people. Um, just get to know people's stories. He was always just so interested to hear their side of the story or what stories that they could share with him. Um, and I think for that, he helped a lot of people along the way. He was very active in his church as well. And, when he did finally pass away, I think this is kind of a testament to showing how many people he had influenced or changed. Uh, and it was like about 300 to 400 people that showed up for his funeral, right?
Mm.
So um, when I saw that, and I totally understand that, we're in a business of like helping people. Um, and so, yeah, I mentioned that before I'd kind of run the opposite direction, right, from insurance. And, I was diagnosed with dyslexia at an early age and almost flunked out of the first grade, which is not hard to do, right? But and when I got into the world of insurance, because I grew up in the agency running around in diapers, right, at the office, but all I saw was all this paperwork, right, all this reading, and this is back with typewriters. So I ran the opposite direction. I was very much so creative, got into photography, got a job into marketing, was there for about 7 years, really kind of supporting that company here in Hawaii as well. And I kind of just got burnt out over a short period, or I guess 7 years isn't a short period, but realized shortly that there was more to life, or that I could be doing more. I just didn't know how.
Mm.
Um, and it wasn't till, unfortunately, my grandfather passed away that brought me back into the business, because my mother needed help. And but what I had really realized being at the other position, in the marketing position, as well as finding my journey back to them, was, had I understood that we're helping individuals, or that it's our job and responsibility to help, and be that advisor to your clients, I probably would have jumped in much quicker
Mm.
when it was offered to me at the age of 18, and not running the opposite direction. I've been an Eagle Scout since the age of 13. And so I was always at service projects, and, service was really instilled in me from the core. And had I known that, I that's kind of like one of my regrets that I didn't jump in sooner because just looking at how many more lives or families that I could have helped along the way, had I not gone maybe in a more selfish pursuit.
Wonderful. Okay. All right. What a journey, right?
Yeah.
So then that translates into this high touch approach that you have to your business, right? High touch service today. So can you tell us why you believe that approach is actually a differentiator, and maybe the ultimate differentiator in a hard market? That's how you qualify
Mhm.
the buoyant market right now.
Yeah.
So
So, the world of insurance, I think it's always been a bit confusing for most individuals, right? But it's become more and more transactional. If you look at how you do your home and auto insurance and even life insurance now, you can just pull up an app, put in your information, and pretty much the underwriting, right? There's very little underwriting. Um, and you now have this policy in place, but you don't really understand it, right?
Mhm.
Um, our market here in Hawaii, because we've had the Maui fire a couple years ago, um, and things like that, there's been a lot of exits of companies, and that has led to a lot of also um, stricter guidelines on writing new policies. And so a lot of individuals, as they're coming up for their time of renewal, they might be getting a non-renewal, or their premium is jumping, 300-400%, and they're trying to figure out why, right? But with insurance, always trying to optimize, I think, its processes, and being very low touch, now they have no one to turn to, right? Or there's all these questions and they're frustrated.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so I think that's where bringing that old style face to face, or even if it's over Zoom type of service, right? Like that my grandfather did back in the 70s, and now bringing it into today and still doing it and using modern technology to give that high touch. I think that's definitely what most agencies aren't looking at doing. They're just looking to maximize, right? So we've seen a lot of uh, acquisitions and mergers kind of go on recently. Um, and again, it's removing that agent from that high touch, right? It's just mostly all becoming more numbers on a spreadsheet.
Mm.
And so I think that when everybody's going in one direction, right, there's definitely a pocket in the marketplace to go the opposite and give a higher
Absolutely.
quality service. And that's
Absolutely.
what I'm looking to do.
Okay, that sounds like a very sound strategy.
Yeah.
So then, keeping this high touch experience to, I think if I remember well from our previous conversation, 700 multi-ticket clients, okay, with a high retention rate because of the high touch, and generational, business, and growth driven by the coconut wireless, as you said. Okay,
Yeah.
coconut wireless for our audience who doesn't understand my words. How do you ensure that your five agents can consistently deliver for those 700 people without running a burnout?
Yeah, so that is, you know, definitely leveraging um, technology, right?
Mm.
As the AI is such a hot topic, obviously we're using AI. We're also using client retention tools that also have forms of AI built into them. But essentially, right, having systems in place, and I think that's most important, is having a system.
Mhm.
Um, and the system allows us to have a mobile app on their phone so we can give them notifications when there's policy updates, right? If they're asking for a COI, some of it is self-service as well, so they can create their own
Mm.
COI
Mm.
directly through that mobile app. Additionally, we've got, the text messaging services that will go out to kind of, on their birthday, Christmas, that kind of
Mhm.
stuff,
Mhm.
right? We
Mhm.
put out a newsletter, but and then what I'm doing is also training our virtual assistants to also leverage AI, right? Whether it's ChatGPT or Claude or whatever it may be. So they're really becoming an integral part of the agency and not just a remote worker that's doing mundane tasks. We're letting all of the AI do those repetitive, mundane tasks and seeing where we can be collaborative and creative to create a better experience for our clients.
Got it. Makes sense. So building on this, you told me that the market is contracting on two fronts, health
Mhm.
and PNC, right?
Right.
If I remember well. Yeah, and that careers are existing, and so in that careers are exiting Hawaii. So my question to you, reflecting on our conversation, is what is the single most time-consuming task for your agents that you would like, so for, that you would like to help them with? Is it shopping policies? Is it advising on non-renewal repairs, or is it something else?
Yeah, so it's kind of a mixture of both where, I know there's raters and other products out there on the market. I think Hawaii is a little bit unique because a lot of our standard market doesn't participate in some of those raters, right? So
Mhm.
there's always these gaps that we don't get this full version of what's out there. So there's a part of that of having to, shop the market for our clients because, most clients are probably reshopping you anyway every 3 years. So if you can get ahead of that and say, hey, we found this other one, right? They'll stick and stay with you as a client. Um, but as the other side is the underwriting, right? Underwriting is getting a bit more difficult. They're asking more questions, they're asking for more photos, right? They're doing more inspections, those kinds of things. And so it's kind of juggling all the processes all at the same time and communicating with your client. Um, and again, I think that's where kind of bringing in that technology piece where our agents will have more time to sit with the client to explain what's going on, why we need these photos. At least the clients too, right? We have mostly everyone has a smartphone, so it's a lot easier to get a photo. I still remember the times my grandfather would drive around and we'd go with a Polaroid camera to help with those inspections. And so,
Yes, 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 yes.
yeah,
So then you mentioned the agent is being forced to act like an advisor, right?
yeah, I
Or
think,
even, or
there's,
even just to expand it, even sometimes a property manager, you said. Okay, so that's like a big word. So how much time does your team spend on non-insurance tasks, like planning for roof repairs 15 years out, and how does that take away from their core job of quoting and selling and finalizing the sale?
yeah, I think, the I would I don't have an exact number, but if I had to put it, it's somewhere between 60 to 80% that we're spending time to be more of an advisor than it is actually writing the business, right? Because just talking in the personal lines for a moment, or even a business owner that has, property, when we're talking about those homes or building, right? Insurance wants to know when's the last time it was re-roofed, when was it painted, um, when the last time the electrical was done, all of these things. And so what we've been really counseling, instead of waiting, because we know usually around between 30 to 50 years is when they're asking for all those updates. So if we look, you know, say the property was just built 10 years ago, we start counseling our clients like, hey, start putting some money aside because we're going to need to re-roof in 10 years, right? Instead of them having to pull a loan or pull from a 401k or whatever it is to pay for those repairs, they can start putting that away earlier.
Hmm.
Um, and that's where we kind of help the project manage as well. And again, some of that software that we use will also help to take inventory and pictures and progress along the way to help our clients too.
With 700 multi-ticket clients, the database is gold, right?
Yes.
So how are you currently leveraging that data for cross-selling and upselling? And what is the biggest challenge in ensuring that data remains clean and active rather than a sleeping beauty?
Yeah, that's definitely, I think, been a very difficult challenge for us because we operate in so many different types of insurance, right? You'll see a lot of the software out there. Maybe it's dedicated to Medicare or it's dedicated to just property and casualty. Some of them are dedicated to the finance space, but there really isn't a tool that brings them all together under one roof, right? Maybe that's a multi-million dollar idea for some of the agencies and big brokers that are out there. But yeah, so it's definitely working closely with our virtual assistants to help making sure that these databases stay updated and
Mm,
then that we'll cross-reference and double check them to make sure that the data is, sound because there's been instances in the past that we've learned from and,
mm.
one database is up to date here and this one isn't, and then
Right.
they're now not talking to each
Yeah,
other.
yeah,
So we've had that issue in the past.
of course. And when those big, big, big problems, the one thing that we need to do is like isolate one and pick one aspect, to start chewing, and transforming. So my question for you, so you see AI as an enabler, yeah, for high touch service, right? That's
Mhm.
what you
I
said.
do.
So freeing up agents from repetitive tasks, as you said, like sending tests and emails, all right? But what is the first repetitive task today that you would hand off to an AI if you knew it would be handled perfectly and compliantly?
So I think it would be the first call that we get. So we get a lot of individuals calling in, whether it's a current client or maybe it's a
Mm.
referral. Right? They're just, hey, we don't have insurance, right? So just the first initial discovery call, if we could alleviate that, because that call is gonna help us get the address, right? Get the what requirements they need, all those kinds of things,
Mhm.
contact information, um, and then we can help kind of start shopping the market. And so our next call would then be a live agent and then be able to start building more rapport, building the relationship, as well as if there's solutions or at least going through some of the things and giving them the difficulty of the market, right?
Mhm.
And just kind of keeping them updated along the way in the process.
I get it. Okay. So, of course, that whole time, that interface and making sure it's captured well and efficiently, effectively. So, you're already training your virtual assistants, as you were saying, to incorporate AI to replace mundane tasks. Okay. What is the most complex human element problem solving task that you wish your team had more time for? Okay. Something that's really human driven. And how would automating the mundane tasks immediately impact their ability to expand to the mainland, which is your strategy, right?
Right. So I think like if I could dictate myself, so first it's like, internal IP. And it's going to be that advisory role, right? Because we're seeing what we're doing on the finance side, we're seeing what we're doing on the asset protection side of the property and casualty, and then we're working with your tax advisor and your attorney and things like that, where we're all talking together, right? Kind of creating that um, family office, if you will, right, for the individual. It's in those conversations that are the most meaningful and the most impactful. So the more time we can spend having those strategy conversations together is that human element. And if we can remove all the other stuff and let AI do that, that's where I think we'll make the biggest impact.
Wonderful. Very sharp. Okay, you told me that you lead from the front, working in the trenches. That's the word that you use, right? From the time, long time ago. As you expand, how do you ensure that new agents who haven't been trained by your mother or grandfather instill that same service and fiduciary mindset without being physically present?
Yeah,
You.
so that is, I think, definitely going to be one of our growing pains. Um, but I think the first and foremost, when I am starting to train other recruiters and things like that, that the first thing is first look at themselves, right? What we look at is we train for we look for the heart and the character, right? We
Hmm.
can train the insurance information, we can train communication skills, right? We can train all of those things.
Hmm.
But if the person's heart isn't in the right place, that we can't really train. That's going to be a very difficult. And so that's where we start. Making sure that this person, their values align with our values, that they want to do this from a need, from a place of wanting to and needing to help others, I think is first and foremost.
Hmm.
And everything else around that, skills can be taught. You can even train
Yeah.
yourself with ChatGPT nowadays, right? Or any other type of AI. You can put it on audio mode and you can just talk to it and you can train yourself back and forth, right? So we'll be able to create training programs and project and, knowledge bases for the AIs to reference and then train the agents that way so that everyone is using the same knowledge base.
Mm. Hmm. Good. All right. So we're reaching the closing question. So, David, your vision is clear. Use efficiency to buy back time for high touch, service. If one could show you a way to automate the administrative intake and follow up for your 700 clients, guaranteeing clear CRM data and freeing up your 5 agents, let's say 2 hours a day, roughly, would that accelerate your expansion, your
Yeah,
expansion plans to the mainland?
I think so, definitely, right? And then it would also help bring on a newer agent because they might not know everything, but most of that's being taken care of, right,
Mm.
by AI. So then the other portion is just the strategy portion that we're trying to get that knowledge base and instilled in them. So yeah, for sure.
Wonderful. Well, David, I cannot thank you enough. I think for our audience, you've been an amazing, example of a multi-generational family business that has great values and great success, honoring those values smartly and leveraging AI on the go as everybody else. Good. Thank you so much, David. I really appreciate. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.